Welcome to our journey to one of the most captivating and transformative periods in history, the French Revolution and the rise of Napoleon. In this video, we'll delve into the tumultuous events that reshaped an entire nation, from the ashes of monarchy to the pinnacle of military conquests. Now, before moving any further, let's set an agenda over what all we'll be covering in this video series. First, we'll explore the background of Europe before the start of the French Revolution, examining the major developments in each of the dominant powers during that time. Second, we'll navigate through the course of the French Revolution itself and the rise of First French Republic. Lastly, we'll delve into the rise of Napoleon and the wars he waged. Now let's begin. The French Revolution, which began in 1789, was a pivotal turning point not just for one country or for one continent, but for the whole world. Therefore, it's said with the outbreak of French Revolution, European history merges in history of one nation, one event, and one man. The nation is France, the event is French Revolution, and the man is Napoleon. Before delving deeper, it's vital to grasp the 18th century European context. This sheds light on why France ultimately underwent a revolution. The seeds of the French Revolution and Napoleon's subsequent rise are intertwined with the intricate and tumultuous relationships among European powers in the 18th century. Throughout this era, Europe grappled with a pressing concern: maintaining a balance of power. Such a weighty issue even influenced Napoleon's downfall. In the early 18th century, Europe was ensnared in conflicts involving two major players. On one side, Louis XIV pursued expansive wars, while Sweden engaged in conflicts in the north. During the Spanish War of Succession in 1701, Louis XIV aimed to secure the entire Spanish kingdom. Meanwhile, under Charles X, Sweden waged the Great Northern War, impacting its Baltic neighbors. Despite their efforts, both Louis XIV and Sweden suffered defeat, leading to the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713 and the Peace of Nystad in 1721. Although the treaties of Utrecht and Nystad indeed resulted in a temporary readjustment of the balance of power in Europe. However, their aftermath saw the emergence of new powers like Russia and Prussia, along with established powers such as Austria, England, and France. In the 18th century, Prussia emerged as a significant and influential European power under the leadership of three notable rulers: Frederick William Dalalan, and Frederick the Great. While the Frederick William unified the scattered state and centralized administration and laid foundation to Prussian military, his son Frederick William molded Prussia into most efficient military engine with equally efficient administration. And the passing of Frederick William Dalalan, his son Frederick the Great ascended to power, and he proved to be an exceptional king for Prussia. Despite being diametrically opposite to his father in character and approach, Frederick the Great led Prussia to its zenith, leaving a remarkable legacy of greatness. He emerged as the most prominent figure in Europe during the latter half of the 18th century, thanks to his military genius and administrative talent. Under his rule, Prussia expanded its territory by twice, becoming supreme in Germany, and its military power gained recognition throughout Europe post his magnificent victory at Rossbach and Leuthen. Further, not only did Prussia progress intellectually and materially, but it also flourished culturally. Such was his impact that he is still revered and referred to as Frederick the Great. His reign left an indelible mark on Prussian and European history. During the 18th century, Prussia's relations with France were complex and often characterized by shifting alliances and conflicts. At the start of the century, Prussia and France were on opposing sides during the War of the Spanish Succession. Prussia, under the rule of Friedrich Wilhelm, aligned with the Grand Alliance, which included England, the Dutch Republic, and Austria, in support of the Archduke Charles of Austria's claim to the Spanish throne. France, in contrast, supported Philip V, Duke of Anjou, who eventually became King Philip V of Spain. Later in the century, during the War of the Austrian Succession in 1740, Prussia and France found themselves on the same side. Frederick the Great led Prussia in supporting the Bavarian claimant, Charles Albert, against Maria Theresa's rule over the Habsburg territories. France saw an opportunity to weaken Austria and joined the conflict alongside Prussia. However, despite this temporary alliance, Prussia and France were not always on friendly terms. In the 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763, they were once again adversaries. France supported Austria and Russia in their efforts to challenge Prussian power, while Prussia fought to defend its position as a major European power. During the French Revolution and the Napoleonic era, Prussia and France became bitter enemies. Prussia was part of the coalition of European powers that sought to contain the spread of revolutionary ideas and halt Napoleon's expansionist ambitions. Prussian forces played a significant role in several key battles against Napoleon's armies. Hence, throughout the 18th century, Prussia's relations with France were shaped by pragmatic considerations, territorial ambitions, and the pursuit of power and influence in Europe. The shifting alliances and conflicts between the two nations reflected the complex geopolitical dynamics of the time. To the east of Prussia, another power emerged, the Russian Empire. The 18th century story of Russia is a tale of steady territorial expansion and modernization, which led the country to extend its borders from the shores of the Baltic in the north to the eastern borders of Germany and the Black Sea in the south. This remarkable expansion of Russia was spearheaded by two exceptional monarchs, Peter the Great and Catherine II. During Peter the Great's reign, Russia underwent a period of sweeping reforms known as the Petrini reforms. Peter sought to westernize and modernize the country, importing European technology, culture, and administrative practices. Further, during his rule, Russia replaced Sweden as the dominant power in Northern Europe, significantly expanding its territory to include the Baltic shores. Under Catherine II, Russia continued the modernization efforts and expanded Russian territories through military campaigns and diplomatic maneuvers. Russia further increased its land area by an astounding 200,000 square miles, incorporating territories from Poland and the Ottoman Balkans. Catherine II once said, "I came to Russia as a poor girl. Russia has dowered me richly, but I've paid her back with Azov, the Crimea, and the Ukraine." Regarding its relations with France, Russia's stance varied throughout the century. At times, Russia and France were allies, and at other times, they found themselves on opposing sides in European conflicts. During the reign of Catherine the Great, Russia and France established an alliance during the 7 Years' War. Catherine sought to balance power in Europe, and formed this alliance to counterbalance the growing influence of Prussia and Britain. During the French Revolution and the Napoleonic era, Russia became a fierce opponent of France, except for a brief moment of time. But overall, Russia was part of the coalition of European powers that sought to contain the revolutionary spread and halt Napoleon's expansionist ambitions. In fact, Russian forces played a crucial role in defeating Napoleon's armies, and eventually leading to his downfall. In the 18th century, Austria was governed by the Holy Roman Empire under the Habsburg rulers. However, Austria was not a homogeneous empire. Rather, it was a collection of diverse territories with people of various races and languages, lacking a centralized administration, all loosely bound under the crown. Throughout the 16th and 17th centuries, Austria served as a bulwark against Ottoman invasions and acted as a counterpoise to France. In the 18th century, the relationship between Austria and France was complex and often characterized by shifting alliances and conflicts. At the beginning of the century, Austria and France were rivals and frequently found themselves on opposing sides in various European conflicts. They were two of the major powers in Europe and vied for dominance and influence on the continent. During the War of the Spanish Succession, Austria and France were on opposite sides, with Austria supporting the claim of the Archduke Charles of Austria to the Spanish throne, while France supported Philip V, Duke of Anjou, who eventually became King Philip V of Spain. Furthermore, during the Austrian War of Succession in 1740 to 1748, France supported the Bavarian claimant, Charles Albert, to the Austrian throne, who sought to challenge Maria Theresa's rule over the Habsburg territories. However, despite their historical rivalry, there were also periods of cooperation and alliance between Austria and France. For example, after losing Silesia to Prussia during Austrian War of Succession, Maria Theresa felt the need to develop friendship with France in order to recover Silesia, so they both formed an alliance in 1756 against Prussia. France's indulgence in all these wars led to increase in their debt and became one of the crucial causes of the French Revolution. And during the French Revolution course, Austria remained the constant enemy of France and was in state of war with it from 1792 to 1815. During 18th century, England came under the rule of House of Hanover as per the Act of Settlement. This act was passed by the Parliament of Great Britain to determine the line of succession to the British throne after the death of Queen Anne, who died without any surviving direct heirs. The Act of Settlement ensured that the Protestant descendants of Sophia of Hanover, a granddaughter of James VI and I, would inherit the throne. The Act of Settlement aimed to secure the Protestant succession and prevent a Catholic monarch from ascending to the throne. As a result, when Queen Anne died in 1714, the Elector of Hanover became King George I of Great Britain, marking the beginning of the House of Hanover's rule over the British monarchy. The relationship between England and France during the 18th century was defined by conflict and competition. As major European powers, they often found themselves engaged in geopolitical rivalries that significantly influenced European history. At the start of the century, England and France were bitter adversaries and frequently found themselves on opposing sides in various wars. For instance, during the War of the Spanish Succession, both nations clashed as England supported the Austrian claimant to the Spanish throne, while France aimed to secure it for Louis XIV. The war culminated in the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713, which reshaped the European balance of power. Similarly, during the War of the Austrian Succession, England supported Maria Theresa, while France backed the Bavarian claimant, Charles Albert, resulting in another major conflict between the two powers. However, one of the most significant events that established English supremacy over France was the 7 Years' War. In alliance with Prussia, England inflicted a crushing defeat on France and Austria. This war's aftermath led to a major shift in territorial and commercial control, with Britain gaining Canada, islands in the West Indies, and India, while the French overseas empire diminished significantly. The 7 Years' War left France burdened with debt, and finally, its support for the American colonies during the American Revolutionary War further exacerbated its financial troubles, leading to bankruptcy. The state of bankruptcy in France was one of the significant catalysts for the French Revolution. Finally, throughout the course of the French Revolution, England remained a constant enemy of France, with hostilities spanning from 1792 to 1815. The two nations were embroiled in continuous conflicts, shaping the turbulent political landscape of the time. In closing, the seeds of the French Revolution were sown in the intricate fabric of 18th century Europe. In this part 1, we illuminated the backdrop against which this monumental upheaval unfolded. As we journey forward in the next video, we shall delve into the intricate state of France in the 18th century and the course of French Revolution. And finally, in the part 3, we'll shine a light on Napoleon's rise and his transformative impact on the continent. Stay tuned for a comprehensive exploration of these pivotal moments in history.